What's happening around the world and what's happening here at home. A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando.
And I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. As always, let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Asia depends on the prosperity of China, President says in Berlin. Says a constructive dialogue is required between the West and China. Will electricity tariffs increase to obtain the second tranche of the extended fund facility? A new movement surrounding the Maha Sangha. Convening a Sangha conference on the 14th, chief incumbent of the Mahindra Maha Viharaya declares Gin, Milwala and Kalu rivers reach flood levels. 6 elephants dead after colliding with trains. Sri Lankan cricketer Danushka Gunatilaka found not guilty of sexual intercourse without consent.
And now the stories in detail.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe delivered the opening speech for the State Leaders Dialogue session today on the first day of the Berlin Global Dialogue.
This two-day dialogue is being held today and tomorrow.
Many developing countries find themselves with large debt burdens. For example, IMF has no mechanism to face this new situation. When Sri Lanka declared bankruptcy, all foreign funding ceased, and that started the political crisis. If not for the help given by World Bank in regraduating Sri Lanka and the help given by my old friend Samantha Powers in funding us with fertilizers, the chances are that I would not be able to come here today. I would not have been in the position. It's so bad, and there's no way in which you can help any country which declares bankruptcy. Look at Sri Lanka's financing needs for our climate prosperity plan. To succeed, we need $26.5 billion by 2030. This for a country that's bankrupt, and who the IMF states will have for the next few years a growth rate of 3.5% if we are lucky. The concession and financing should be accessible by a broader group of countries, including the middle-income nations facing numerous economic vulnerabilities. In the depth of Sri Lanka's economic crisis of 2022, even though the country was implementing robust IMF-supported reforms, the country could not access any new foreign concessional financing due to its situation or debt distress. I must tell you that the negotiations with the IMF is certainly not tailored for these situations. It's still the old way of negotiating. Developing countries to emerge from the prevailing economic challenges, including debt requests, a critical requirement is open access to trade, investment, capital, technology force. But unfortunately, the great power rivalries and geopolitics have been an emerging threat for such market success. Furthermore, Belt and Road Initiative has been labelled as a cohesive program, and the participating countries like Sri Lanka is looked upon with suspicion. This will further hurt economic prospects in the global south, and the polarization will become more evident. For a country like Sri Lanka, we are learned to live with pressure from America, India and China. I mean, that's nothing new for us anymore. We require a constructive dialogue between the West and China. We need a constructive dialogue between US and China. We need a constructive dialogue between EU and China. Otherwise, we will not move forward. So this is the stark reality. It's a question of how we get together and how we work and who's going to take the lead in 2024. Thank you.
Taking part in a roundtable discussion, President Ranil Wickremesinghe spoke about geopolitical tensions among global superpowers.
We've been going on one strategy, and you are changing it overnight. What do small countries like us do? We only got the crumbs of the Washington consensus. Now, if you take it off, we won't have those crumbs even. Secondly, Asia, whether we like it or not, is also dependent on the prosperity of China. And if China comes down, it affects all of us. And invariably, China might survive, we may go down. And we are now getting caught into this whole the geopolitics. One is that we never got the full benefit, certainly not Indian Ocean of the Western consensus. In any case, we have to make it on our own. On the other hand, what was available to us was funding from Japan and China. China meant joining the BRI. We've got projects there, some good, some not that. But that's our fault. We are the ones who selected it. But now we are getting, all of us get targeted if you're on the BRI. So you can't get any assistance from China. You're not getting assistance from elsewhere. Now we are trying to enter the markets for the first time. We are the first country outside Southeast Asia to join, asked to join the RCEP. So as we are trying to play with the existing rules, we find the rules are being changed. And if this is difficult for us, it's going to be more difficult for Africa. I mean, this is what all of us realize. And then the outcome of G20 at this time was not fruitful at all. There was nothing in it for countries like Sri Lanka and many other countries. So you may now find a geopolitical split with BRICS, with Russia and China, with Quad plus part of them. But we get caught into all this, and we are the ones who suffer.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa said at Akkarepattu today that while the people of his country are under severe economic pressure, leaders of this country are on tours overseas.
The International Monetary Fund says that the government has failed. What is the reason to go to state revenue figures? The government offers unlimited tax concessions to their friends and the rich. My friends, I would like to clearly tell you that there is no point in increasing taxes in order to increase the government revenue. The government revenue increases only if the country's income increases. The country's income increases only if the economy grows. I have to tell the government that they can't do this. That is proven. Increase the revenue of the country. The burden of taxes is put on the shoulders of the people. The general public have to bear the brunt of the taxes. The electricity bill was increased. The water bill was increased. Now they say that they will increase the electricity bill again. After increasing the prices, leaders of this country are flying overseas. That is the truth.
Many parties point out that a situation is being created where people will be burdened further in order for the government to receive the second tranche of the International Monetary Fund Extended Fund Facility. They expressed these views following the views expressed by the IMF representatives in Colombo yesterday at the conclusion of the first review.
The IMF delegation, which arrived with Senior Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Peter Brewer, held a press briefing in Colombo at the conclusion of the review. The press release issued in line with the media briefing indicated economic changes that may occur. These are some important points highlighted in the IMF release. Extraction.
The authorities have met the program's primary balance targets and remain committed to this program pillar of the program so as to support their efforts to restore debt sustainability. However, revenue mobilization gains, while improved relative to last year, are expected to fall short of initial projections by nearly 15% by year end, in part due to economic factors. The onus of fiscal adjustment would fall on public expenditure if there were no efforts to recoup this shortfall. This could weaken the government's ability to provide essential public services and undermine the path to debt sustainability. To increase revenues and single better governance, it is important to strengthen tax administration, remove tax exemptions and actively eliminate tax evasion. Against continued uncertainty, it also remains important to rebuild external buffers by strong reserves accumulation. Building on the Central Bank of Sri Lanka's success in controlling inflation, refraining from monetary financing will help inflation in check. Other challenges include maintaining cost recovery of electricity pricing.
End extraction. A key point that the IMF highlighted is that government revenue has not reached expected targets. Another important point is that the electricity tariffs are still not cost effective. Is this a sign of another electricity tariff revision? When a similar controversy arose a few weeks ago, the government assured that another price revision will not be done till January 2024.
Even though there are social media claims, there are claims on the media that there is going to be another tariff increase or a revision taking place immediately. The next tariff revision will obviously be taken in January of next year. That is the government policy that we have taken.
Despite the minister's statement, the general manager of the Ceylon Electricity Board informed the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka on the 24th of July that the electricity tariff should be increased once again to cover the losses incurred by the CEB. The general manager's letter stated that the CEB is already incurring a loss of 33 billion rupees due to the price reduction. Warnings were issued at the time stating there is an immediate need for a price revision to suit the expenditure, and failure to do so will result in the CEB incurring serious losses. IMF representatives pointed out yesterday that the gap between the government's income and expenditure should be further reduced.
Tax collection is a concern in Sri Lanka. It's an important pillar of the program because it's important to sustain the essential expenditures of the government. And these expenditures need to be sustained with an appropriate amount of revenues. In Sri Lanka, there's a big gap between these two. Expenditures are of the order of 19% or so of GDP. Revenue is in the order of 9% of GDP or so, and that gap needs to be filled.
Against such a backdrop, will the government have to revise electricity tariffs to get the second tranche of the IMF Extended Fund facility?
The second generation organization points out that the burden is still being put on the people.
The maximum amount has now been taken from the pockets of people who usually get monthly salaries. The maximum amount of fuel has been taken. Then in this way, the maximum that can be taken from all the goods used by the common people and from their salary has now been taken away. But now on top of this, we are clearly telling you not to get ready to hit the pockets of the common man. Now they are seeing electricity bills, water bills and fuel to increase the tax income. Now they are trying to increase those as much as they can to increase the income tax.
Uttara Lanka Sabhagaya also expressed its opinion in this regard today.
Peter Brewer said that Sri Lanka's measures to increase government revenue is still not enough. It still stands at 9% as a percentage of gross domestic product. At least this should reach 12% by 2024. So then I think government revenue as a percentage of gross domestic product, government expenditure is about 18%. So there is a problem here. The tax policy announced by the government is to strangle the neck of the middle class and strangle the neck of those professionals. Apart from that, the common people of this country pay the tax on everything they eat, drink, travel and wear on a daily basis. Therefore, we would like to ask the government, where are the taxes paid by the capitalists? What is the government's plan to get out of this situation? We do not see such a plan. Employee rights are curtailed. They keep imposing tax upon tax. Professionals are driven out of this country. The people are burdened. A man who has eaten 3 meals will not be able to eat 2 meals. There are people who cannot bathe because water bill is high. There are families who do not turn on the lights because the electricity bill is high. The crime wave continues to grow. People are killed on the road. Robberies take place. People become inhumane. However, the conditions of the financial fund are being fulfilled and moving forward. The Foreign Exchange Act will not be amended to bring in those exports and income.
Also in local news, former President Mahindra called on the chief prelate of the Ramanya sect today.
Former President Mahindra called on the chief prelate of the Ramanya sect, Most Venerable Makulave Vimala Mahanayaka Thero, at the Mini Oluwa Vidyavasa Pirivena. The former president then responded to the media.
දෙවෙනි වාරිකයේ කියවන එක ප්‍රමාද වෙනවා කියලා තුමා කියනවා. අනුරු දැනගන්න ඕනේ කියලා වාගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කාලේ මේ ප්‍රශ්න තිබුණේ නැහැ නේ. 2019 බදු ප්‍රතිපත්ති ප්‍රශ්නයක් ගැන තමයි කිව්වේ. ඒ එයාලා දැනගන්න ඕනේ කල්පනාකරණය කරන්න. අපි කල්පනාකරණය කරලා දෙන්න බෑනේ එයාලට. දැන් සමාජ මාධ්‍ය නිවාරණයක් පනවන්න යනවා තුමා කියන
No, that is not necessary. They can tell whatever they want. There are both pros and cons in social media. Everyone has the right to criticize. There is no problem in that. I don't have any issue with that. President Mahindra then visited the residence of the Mirigama organizer of the Podujana Peramuna, Kokila Jayawardena in Loluwagoda Mirigama, which was destroyed by fire on the 9th of May 2022.
The 31st AGM of the American Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka was held in Colombo yesterday.
The US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, and several other dignitaries attended the event.
Sri Lanka's strategic location, strong infrastructure, and educated population could turn this country into a leader in a rising South Asia. In 2023, USAID is providing $35 million to support Sri Lankan businesses and strengthen Sri Lankan governance. The U.S. Development Finance Corporation has provided financial support worth $128 million to companies in Sri Lanka since the start of the crisis, with more money coming in the pipeline. And this month, we welcomed the first delegation of our TIFA, U.S. Trade Representative's Office, to hold talks for Trade and Investment Framework Agreement Council. This visit will lead to an action plan on measures to strengthen trade and investment between our two countries.
Acting Minister of Finance Shahan Singha delivered the keynote address during the event on Wednesday.
Sri Lanka has now put in place an appropriate tax policy framework, and going forward, the majority of the gains in revenue are expected to be derived from the improvements in tax administration and tax compliance. Towards this end, numerous reforms are being put in place at the key revenue agencies, that is the Inner Revenue Department, the Customs and the Excise Department. RAMES is in the process of being upgraded with the new version expected to be completed in the coming week. There will be enhanced focus on risk-based audits, digitalization of processes to minimize interaction between taxpayers and tax authorities, registration of persons outside the tax system, and developing an efficient refund system. The government intends to lock these fiscal gains by bringing in legislation in the form of a Public Finance Management Act in the coming months. I think we will do it before the end of the fourth quarter, which will introduce robust fiscal rules and disciplines on fiscal transparency and public finance governance. Public investments will be more focused and targeted in line with fiscal consolidation efforts.
The Acting Minister of Finance also made remarks on the external debt restructuring process as well.
Sri Lanka is entering to final stages of debt restructuring process, as important progress has been in engagements with the official creditor committee, China and commercial creditors. Once the debt restructuring process is completed, it will open up greater avenues for Sri Lanka to access external funding and put Sri Lanka on track to attract further foreign investments as well. Sri Lanka's attractiveness from an investment perspective has long been apparent, but has been thwarted by persistent macroeconomic imbalance. The recent economic crisis has been a catalyst for long ignored reforms that would finally put an end to these economic vulnerabilities. This provides Sri Lanka with the opportunity to finally fulfill the tremendous potential that has been suppressed for too long.
The Board of Officials for the year 2023 and 2024 were also appointed during the AGM.
On to another one of our headline-making stories. The Irrigation Department issued a flood risk notification this afternoon due to the heavy rains.
The Director of the Irrigation Department, SPC Sugishwara, made the following remarks.
ගංවතුර තත්ත්වයක් පවතිනවා. මේ ප්‍රදේශවල පවතින ජල මට්ටම්
There is currently a flood situation in the low-lying areas of the Nilwala River. In Bulat Sinhala Divisional Secretariat and Palindanura Divisional Secretariat, there are flood-threatened areas of the Kudaganga tributary and the risks of floods are increasing. The water levels of Gin River continues to rise. The water level of the main river in Ratnapura area is also at a high level. If there is an increase in the rainfall, there is a risk that these areas will also face the flood threats. The water levels of Attanagaloya is also at a higher level than usual.
මේ ප්‍රදේශات සැලකිය යුතු මට්ටමේ ගංගාතුර තත්ත්වයකට ඉක්මනින් පත්වීමේ අවදානම පවතිනවා. අත්තනගලුවේ ජල මට්ටමත් සාමාන්‍ය තත්ත්වයට වඩා ඉහළ මට්ටමක පවතින්නේ.
Meanwhile, due to heavy rains, landslide warnings have been issued for 7 districts. The National Building Research Organisation announced that landslide warnings have been issued under 2 phases for several regional secretariats in Kalutara, Kandy, Matara and Ratnapura districts. Landslide warnings have been issued under phase 1 for several divisional secretariats in Gaul, Hambantota, Kalutara, Kegol, Matara and Ratnapura districts. A number of roads, including the Akurasa Siambalagoda Kamrupitiya road in the Matara district, were flooded due to the overflowing of the Nilwala river. It was also announced today that people on both sides of the river should be watchful. Transportation was disrupted due to the collapse of a mound of earth on the Matara-Tangol main road from the Eliakanda area. Certain places on the Valigama road through Matara, Sultanagoda were also flooded, and transportation on the road reaching through Matara, Kamarugamua was also disrupted. The Ovilana culvert on the Deyandara Mulatiana road was flooded and many low-lying areas were submerged due to the rising water level in the Kirama Ara. This is how many lowlands in Makandur area were flooded this morning. People in Denipitiya, Vatagedaramulla, Koledanda, Peragaswata and other areas were inconvenienced due to the non-flow of rainwater around Valigama. Due to the rise in the water level of the Pol Atumodara river, many rice fields were also flooded. Gaul Maitpe Nagaswata road, Holuagoda Karapitiya road were also flooded. This is how a side road in Ankokavalla near the 99th post of the Southern Expressway was also flooded. The road from Baddegama to Agalia, the side roads on both sides of the Ging River, as well as many lowlands were also flooded. Mounds of earth of the Batuhengoda hill near several houses in Baddegama Ganegama North had also collapsed. The Hambantota Kirama Oya has reached the overflow level and the Valasmula Deyandara road was flooded. The Hambantota Matara main road was flooded this morning from Batata area. Several areas around Hambantota city were also flooded. Engineers in charge of reservoirs said that the water levels in Castlereagh and Mausakale reservoirs are rising. 2 sluice gates of Polgola Mahavali Dam were also opened early this morning. The water levels of the Kalu River and Hangamu River have risen and the surrounding lowlands have been flooded. Meanwhile, the Department of Meteorology said that the showery conditions in the southwestern part of the island is expected to enhance in the next few days. The highest rainfall during the past 24 hours that ended at 8:30 this morning was recorded in the Guruluwana area of the Ratnapura district as 152.4 millimeters. The weather forecast predicts that wind speeds may increase up to 50 kilometers per hour at times in the southwestern parts of the country. The sea areas include Putlam, Colombo, Gaul, Matara and Hambantota.
First with the people.
Muslims all over the world are celebrating the Milad-un-Nabi festival today.
Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born in 571 AD in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Born to Abdullah bin al-Muttalib and Amina bint Wahab, from birth Prophet Muhammad did not receive affection from his father. At the age of 6, he lost his mother's love. Although he had an ordinary life in his youth, the Prophet, who later traveled to different areas as a businessman, gradually built trust among the people and later became known as Al-Amin or the Faithful. He who spread Islam all over the world received the mandate as Allah's messenger at the age of 40. He led the Arabian community to the right path and performed the ministry for 23 years. Various programs were held today in many parts of the country for the celebration of Miladun-Nabi.
The chief incumbent of the Mahindra Rajamaha Viharya, Venerable Dr. Valavahangunavave Dharmarathanathera, is preparing to commence a joint program with the Maha Sangha. A Sangha conference will be held on the 14th of October as the initiative step.
Multiple factions representing the Buddhist clergy, including the Sinhala Rave National Organization, the National Sangha Federation and the Surakimu Sri Lanka National Movement, called on Venerable Dr. Valavahangunavave Dharmarathanathera.
හිටගන්න ඔය සියලුම පාර්ලිමේන්තු නියෝජනය කර දේශපාලන කණ්ඩායම් පාර්ලිමේන්තු 225 දෙනා හා ජනාධිපතිවරයා සමත් වෙලා නැහැ.
All the political groups representing 225 members of parliament and the president have not succeeded in standing on the side of the people. They still steal more than they did. So this time it has been 75 years since the independence, but we are still not independent. The citizens are not independent for a new freedom struggle. This country should be taken back. We will call on the most venerable Maha Sangha and seek their blessings on the 14th of October at 2 p.m. The time has come to remove the incompetent politicians ruling this country. For that reason, we are starting this massive new battle.
විනයක් නැති අසංවර දේශපාලඥයන් ඉවත් කරන්න කාලය අවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිමිත්තෙන් අපි මේ දැවැන්ත නව සටන අපි පටන් ගන්නවා. රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයා අපි බොහොම වගකීම් සහගතවම කියනවා.
We say responsibility to Ranil Wickramasinghe that he didn't take the country forward, which he took over from Gotabaya. The available resources are sold, oil is extracted from the resources and oils are exported. Will the country always bow down to the IMF and get stuck in debt? Are you trying to destroy the country again? There is the question of whose will this is. We will make a statement to the nation on October 14th at 2 p.m. in the middle courtyard with a program that can raise the country.
Speaking at the Inter-Parliamentary Union in Uruguay, MP Vasantha Yapabandar expressed the following views.
Developing countries, that we have a major problem regarding most of the developed countries, they will take different types of dialogues to the world. In the history, we have heard about the tariff and also the subsidy providing for the agriculture and also carbon emission problem. Most of those dialogues they are bringing to the developing countries. But what will happen from the time being, they will stop their dialogue and they start opposite situation. They will inform us to stop the tariff, but they indirectly they are imposing such tariffs. And also same thing happening in the agriculture sector. They will inform us to stop that subsidies for the agriculture, but indirectly they are giving their agriculture to the subsidies. So my point is this, Honorable Chairman, please you better consider about the matters related to the developing countries, especially all over the country they can't use their mobile phone because the data and the Wi-Fi facilities they don't have. So the developing countries are facing severe disaster in this current situation after COVID-19. I'm asking you, please consider about that special matters for developed countries. I'm not telling that they are wrong, but we are discussing world harmony and the reasonable society building. Our main theme is that. So we have to think about that developing countries' special neednesses. So please inform it to the UN General Conference through your guidance. Thank you.
Hundreds of thousands of Sri Lankan women travel to Middle Eastern countries in search of work, attempting to resolve the financial burdens of their families. However, not all of them are able to fulfill their dreams for a better life. Today, we are reporting the terrible ordeal of one such woman.
Madasami Tyagaselvi. She is from Pudukkadu Hunnasgiriya in Caddy. Tyagaselvi travelled to Saudi Arabia on the 3rd of June 2023 in search of employment to overcome the crisis of her poverty-stricken family.
I went to work as a domestic worker. They treated me well for 1 week. They gave me good food. 2 weeks later, their eldest daughter arrived. It was only after she came with her children that I had a problem. Thereafter, I only got lunch and dinner on some occasions. I was only drinking water. I don't have a husband. I left the country to get money to raise my child.
31-year-old Tyaga Selvi says she used to work as a domestic worker in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where she faced various harassments.
They only gave me 1 month's salary. They're yet to pay me for 1.5 months. On the 23rd of August, while I was working in the kitchen, Madam and Madam's daughter gave me 5 nails and told me to swallow them. They beat me and insisted that I swallow them. I couldn't swallow them, but they forced me to anyway. I got unbearable stomach pains and I didn't know whom to speak to. On the 26th, they broke a hair clip and asked me to swallow it. I told them I'm in pain. After going to the hospital and getting tested, the nails were there.
Director of the Caddy National Hospital, Dr. Irrigation Fernando, told News First that Tyaga Selvi arrived in Sri Lanka on the 13th of September and was admitted to the hospitals due to pain.
On the 20th, she was admitted to the surgical ward. When she was admitted, she only complained of being assaulted. She was admitted due to stomach pain. When conducting tests, an image of 2 nails was found in her colon. One of them was removed after she was admitted. We have no mention of the size of the nail. It has passed through the digestive system. She had no complications when she was discharged from the hospital. She can always return to the hospital if there are any issues. The specialist had said that they could reach a conclusion after further tests.
News First inquired from the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment regarding the incident. According to Deputy General Manager and media spokesperson of the Bureau, Gamini Senarath Yapa, Tyaga Selvi had not filed a complaint with the Saudi Arabian Embassy in Sri Lanka about the hardships she had faced. She told News First that she was instructed to file a complaint. Gamini Senarath Yapa added that he would take action in this regard as soon as he receives the report of the investigation conducted by the embassy regarding the complaint made by Tyaga Selvi.
The legal aid camp organized by the Bar Association of Sri Lanka in line with the National Law Week began today.
The launch of the legal aid camp organized by the Bar Association of Sri Lanka was attended by Chief Justice Jayanta Jayasuriya, Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, the Attorney General Sanjay Rajaratnam and the President of the BASL, Attorney Kaushalya Navaratna. The objective of National Law Week is to raise awareness among citizens of their rights, privileges and remedies and to create a law-abiding society for sustainable development. Today was the first day of the legal aid camp and it will continue tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
This is an attempt to include all of you in the process to resolve issues in our country. When living in a society, several issues arise among us. This process to deliver justice was introduced to resolve these issues while protecting peace.
Yesterday, a forum on wrongful arrest, custodial torture and the rights of the citizen was also held at the BASL auditorium in line with the National Law Week.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka, in its annual calendar, we dedicate specifically just 1 week to educate not only the general public. We have engagements with government officials, school children, all the other stakeholders to teach them the law, their rights, entitlements, and on top of everything, their obligations as well in living in a country like us.
Senior officers of the Army, Navy, Air Force and the police attended this event and engaged in interactive discussion with eminent senior legal practitioners.
The tragic deaths of no less than 6 elephants occurred today, all of them losing their lives after being hit by trains.
It was a day of tragedy for elephants in Sri Lanka, as 6 of these majestic animals lost their lives in an agonizing manner when they were hit by trains. 4 elephants were killed after being hit by the Colombo-Kanakasanthre night mail train in an area between Ammanpula and Galgamuwa in the Kurunagar district early this morning.
ඒ කිලෝමීටර විතර අලි 4 දිනක් වදිනකම් කෝච්චි ඩ්‍රයිවිං කරලා දින කොහොමද? මම කියන්නේ අපි 365 දවසම අලි එක්ක පීඩා විඳින මිනිස්සු. හැබැයි ඒ වුණාට මේ අහිංසක සත්තුන්ට මෙහෙම වෙනවට අපි කිසිසේත්ම එකඟ නැහැ. මේක මහා ජාතික අපරාධයක්.
Elephants that reside with the Mioya Reserve traverse across the railway line during the night in search of food. The train's engine was damaged in the accident. A mother elephant and an elephant calf were killed after being hit by a train near the 125-kilometer post in Palugaswava area in Haparana at around 12:30 this morning. The calf was killed on the spot while the mother elephant had sustained serious injuries. The attempts by a team of wildlife officials and the veterinarian in the charge of the Anuradhapura Wildlife Zone, Dr. Chandana Jayasinghe, to save the life of the female elephant proved futile. Meanwhile, a landmark moment in Sri Lanka's golfing history took place in Hambantota yesterday.
Sri Lanka's first ever National Caddy Tournament 2023 was held in Hambantota yesterday. The tournament was held to uplift caddies and develop golf in Sri Lanka. 42 caddies from 7 distinguished golf clubs and resorts across the nation came together to showcase their skills and compete on the 18-hole golf course. The first ever champions crowned were winner of the National Caddy Tournament 2023, ADLM Ranasinghe, Sri Lanka Army, and PWAD Pushpakumara, Sri Lanka Army as runner-up. OM Niroshani from Victoria Golf Club was awarded the special prize Ladies after showcasing her exceptional skills.
2023 girls' finals of the Interschool Shakespeare Drama Competition, or Shakes, was held at the Bishop's College Auditorium yesterday. News First, Santasana Naika reports.
The 2023 girls' finals of the Interschool Shakespeare Drama Competition, or Shakes, kicked off yesterday at the Bishop's College Auditorium. The 4 finalists were Visakha Vidyalaya, Ladies College Colombo, Devi Balika Vidyalaya and St. Nicholas International College Negombo.
It all started in 1951 by the Ceylon Thespians, when Shakespeare was removed from the school curricula. Thereafter, this competition was revived in 1973 to the competition it is today by past President Rotarian Harold Pires and the late Mr. Alagan Kadrugama, the then Secretary General of the Colombo YMCA. And thus the involvement of these two organizations, the Rotary Club of Colombo North and the Colombo YMCA, as it continues to this date.
The first performance was an extract from William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream by St. Nicholas International College Negombo.
I do but beg a little change in God.
Second and third performances were from Visakha Vidyalaya and Devi Balika Vidyalaya. Both the schools performed extracts from Macbeth and The Two Gentlemen of Verona, respectively. Ladies College Colombo performed in the last slot with an entertaining extract from William Shakespeare's famous comedy The Taming of the Shrew.
She had not the spirit to resist. They shall go forward, gift.
Shakes 2023 is being held in its original form after 2019, returning to the stage after a hiatus of 4 years. Visakha Vidyalaya and Devi Balika Vidyalaya won second and third runners-up respectively, while St. Nicholas International College Negombo was the third runners-up. Ladies College Colombo was adjudged the winners of the 2023 Interschool Shakespeare Drama Competition. Sanetri Munasinghage from Gateway College Dehibala was the best supporting actress of the competition. Hiruki Dahanayaka from Devi Balika Vidyalaya won the Best Actress Award. Best Stagecraft Award went to Holy Family Convent Colombo 4, while St. Nicholas International College Negombo won the award for Best Novice School. Senita Senanayaka, News First, Colombo.
Sri Lankan cricketer Danushka Gunatilaka was found not guilty of sexually assaulting an Australian woman by a court in New South Wales, Australia today. Darling Centre Regional Court in New South Wales, Australia has ruled that Sri Lankan cricketer Danushka Gunatilaka is not guilty of stealthing or sexually assaulting a woman. Following the verdict, Gunatilaka said that he is looking forward to playing cricket again.
Danushka Gunatilaka was arrested in Sydney on suspicion of stealthing or sexually assaulting the woman in question while he was in Australia to participate in the 2022 T20 Cricket World Cup. Following these accusations, Sri Lanka Cricket took steps to suspend Danushka Gunatilaka. He was remanded in Australia and a bail request was submitted to the Downing Centre Regional Court on the 14th of November last year. He was released on bail on the 17th of November under strict restrictions which also included restrictions on the use of social media. The trial ended on the 21st of September and the verdict was announced today. Judge Sarah Haggett of the Downing Centre Regional Court announced the verdict and stated that Danushka Gunatilaka was not guilty of stealthing the woman in question.
Anyway, nothing much to say. I think Judge's verdict says everything. I just want to thank people who helped me during this hard time, and last 11 months been really hard for me, and especially for my lawyers. Actually Murugan wasn't here today, but Murugan Tangaraj and Alan, thank you so much everyone, and especially my manager Celine and my parents, and there are a few people who helped me in Sri Lanka. Everyone believed me, so that means a lot to me. And end of the day, judge say who lies, who not. So the verdict says everything, as I said before. So I'm happy that my life is normal again. So I can't wait to go back and play cricket.
Announcing the verdict, Judge Sarah pointed out that the woman who accused Danushka had made conflicting statements on 2 occasions about the social media account she was in contact with. The judge also pointed that the woman couldn't clearly recall certain events during the period related to the accusation. The court had paid close attention to a conversation the complainant had with 2 of her close friends, and the judge was of the opinion that steps had been taken to prepare the complaint in such a way that charges could be brought against Danushka. Lawyer Murugan Thanraj appeared before the court on behalf of Danushka Gunatilaka and stated the facts.
A group of civil organizations representatives engaged in a silent protest near the Liberty roundabout in Colombo this afternoon.
In a scene that is reminiscent of the origins of the Aragalaya in early 2022, a group of citizens in Colombo turned out for the second consecutive week in silent protest against the government. Today, a group of citizens in Colombo carried out a silent protest at the Liberty roundabout in Kolpiti, showing that the spirit of the Aragalaya is still alive in the hearts of Sri Lankans. Under the watchful eyes of a large number of policemen, the protesters made their presence known, displaying placards themed "We want justice, we demand accountability."
This is the Liberty Circle protest that we have every Thursday from 5:30 to 6:30. We've been doing this since March 11th, 2022. If we don't come out, it looks like everything is hunky-dory in our country. That's what people are believing now. But it isn't. You just go and speak to some of the people who don't have. They don't even have one decent meal to eat.
The cost of living is going up every day. There is any sort of remedy for that. Every day they are bringing some sort of harassment. Today they have, they are passing out a lot of bills in the Parliament. What they are doing is they are harassing the people. They are suppressing the people's freedoms. So this is wrong, and we are out here not against any particular party. We are against the fundamental rights being lost.
අපි එදාත් ඉල්ලුවේ system change and accountability. ඒ කියන්නේ පද්ධති වෙනසක් සහ වගවීමක්. අදත් අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ ඒක. හෙටත් වෙන ආණ්ඩුවක් වෙන පක්ෂවල ආණ්ඩුවක් ආවොත් ඒගොල්ලෝ මේක වෙනස් කරන්නේ නැත්තත් හෙටත් අපි මෙතන ඉන්නවා.
The groups protested, demanding immediate solutions to the issues in the country.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Lankan News. Thank you very much for joining us.
Do take care and good night.